Hello again. One of the things about the current mania for changing sex, which many of us find disturbing, is the number of girls on the autistic spectrum who are choosing this process, deciding to go along that particular path. In the description to this video, I give a link to research by the National Autistic Society, which suggests that those with autism are 5 times as likely to wish to change sex as those who are not on the spectrum. Until a few years ago, young people accepted as belonging to the opposite sex were almost entirely boys. Now, girls outnumber boys greatly, and as many as a third of them are on the autistic spectrum. This might suggest that before encouraging girls and young women in this aim, we might be better advised to stop and ask what is going on. Many autistic people are desperately keen to fit in and be like everybody else. Have some of them with autism perhaps persuaded themselves that the reason they don't fit in so well with society is not because of autism, but because they are presenting as the wrong gender, and that they would be a lot better off if they started to be boys rather than girls? Changing somebody's gender, of course, will not cure autism and the problems which accompany this syndrome, but I can see how it might be an alluring idea for some young people. There is now an alarming piece of news which suggests that this whole idea is getting wildly out of hand. I doubt that the average viewer will have heard of furries. These are people who have the idea that in some sense they are really small furry animals like foxes or cats. There is a fetish scene associated with this phenomenon, but when it manifests in girls it's usually a different matter. There are an increasing number of adolescent girls who have got it into their heads that their spirit or soul, or whatever you wish to call it, is really that of an animal rather than a person. Some of them start imitating the behaviour of their chosen animal, so that those who think that they are cats will lick the back of their hands in a grooming ritual and so on. At the moment, this kind of thing is in the early stages, but it is growing, and there are signs that, just as with sex changes, young people with autism or other developmental problems may be more prone to it. In the description to this video, I give a link to a newspaper article from Australia about a teenage girl who now identifies as a cat and is being supported by her school in this mad idea. The chilling expression, being supported by the school, is of course commonly used when pupils wish to change sex, sometimes without the permission of their parents. Now this is happening, inevitably, with a girl who wants to change species. One curious and perhaps significant aspect of the business is that this child is described as non-verbal, which at once suggests that she has either a learning difficulty or a mental health problem. In other words, she's more vulnerable than the average school pupil. 20 years ago, an adolescent girl with learning difficulties who started behaving as though she was a cat would have been discouraged and told that this was unacceptable. Now, teachers and other professionals are so keen to support those changing sex that they naturally adopt the same procedure when a child wishes to change species. This whole furry business is becoming something of a craze in the United States among young girls, and now it's taken a grip in Australia. How long before it arrives in Britain, I wonder? When once you tell young people, adolescents, that their sex is not fixed and immutable but can change, there are bound to be a certain number who will therefore decide to change, even if the idea had never before crossed their minds. It is this which has caused the epidemic of teenagers hoping to change sex. once you've bought into the whole notion of something as basic as biological sex not being fixed at birth, then it will be a good deal easier to start believing in the idea that our position as members of the human species is not fixed either, and that just as girls can become boys, so too can they become foxes or squirrels. That idea is essentially no more bonkers than the notion of men becoming women or vice versa. A terrible and flawed idea is now on the loose, and we are only just at the moment seeing some of the implications becoming manifest. There's a lot more to come yet.